I wasn't sure if I was going to share this story, but I'm a big believer in the power of testimony and sharing one's story and how that may inspire growth and curiosity and healing elsewhere in the lives of others or even just in the world around us. So if you're interested, here's the story of a life-changing experience in therapy. I entered the waiting room just as a maintenance worker was stopping by my therapist's office just down the short hall, and I couldn't help but overhear that the bathroom sinks issues had apparently been caused by a piece of pipe that had corroded and dissolved nearly to the point of dust. It's an older building, wear and tear happens. Little did I know that the plumbing wouldn't be the only thing that fell apart that day. Our 4-hour EMDR session began by revisiting what I had referred to in our last meeting as a deep and universal exhaustion within myself. I had realized then that I bore a sunken tiredness down to my core, one that cut far deeper than mere sleepiness or the need to sit down after a long day's work. I had realized that I'd become, for the most part, numb to the hooks that this exhaustion had set into my being. I had scarred over the barbs. It was now just a way of life. But what was I exhausted by? Nearly 20 years of striving to avoid the fear, pain, and shame that accompanied the stuttering experience that I've encountered every day of my life since I was around 8 years old. I've spent 2 decades striving to rid myself of the painful physical experience of freezing on words and trying to force them out, even words like my own name. 2 decades trying to push away the handful of adverse experiences in which I was made to feel less than, ostracized, and othered due to a speech impediment that I had no control over. And yet, every day for 2 decades, there's been some instance when I had to use a voice that felt like nothing less than my worst enemy, nothing less than an absolute nightmare. What other mangled, rough-barked tree would grow from a seed like that, if not exhaustion? During the session, I likened my experience to Sisyphus's curse, pushing a barely manageable boulder uphill, knowing there is a crest somewhere that will end the suffering, but always losing control of it near the top. The boulder rolls back to the bottom and the task repeats. Sisyphus remembers the failure. He understands it will repeat, yet he is still compelled to try again. He is trapped in this loop of striving, an infinite cycle of exhaustion. There was one added ingredient to my own Sisyphusian experience, however. My hands were tied, chained to that boulder, leaving me with 3 options. 1, I could push uphill, knowing at least I was making some kind of progress. In my younger days, this meant substituting enough words or dodging enough interactions to avoid stuttering. Later, it looked like the well-intentioned effort to use speech and mental health therapy strategies in the hopes of promoting fluency. 2, I could let the boulder go and surrender to gravity, meaning allow myself to stutter. However, since I am chained to it, I am left wounded as I'm dragged through the dirt, arms pulled from their sockets, experiencing that sensation of choking, lockjaw, imminent pressure behind my eyes, and an overall painful tensing of the body. Let alone risk encountering another adverse social experience. Option 3 is I could stop. I could brace the boulder against my exhausted body and at least enjoy a moment without movement in any direction. Usually this looks like spending time alone without any obligation to speak, and yet during this faux relief, I would know it was only a matter of time until I was either compelled to continue upward or downward. Once again, as I talked through this with my therapist, I felt the barbed hooks of exhaustion. I felt nothing but apathy and hopelessness as I considered this endless striving. As always, before resuming eye movements, she said, "Go with that," referring to this mythological mental image and the sense of depletion that ran down to my soul. She said, "Try to notice how you're feeling in your body." Strangely, the barbed hooks began to feel rather like a blanket, weighted and warm, covering me from my shoulders down to my feet. Coming out of the eye movements, I sat with the bodily sensation for a moment. I recognized that it was still exhaustion, but it was showing up differently now. And then something profound took place. I felt my shoulders and my chest relax to a point I have no memory of them ever achieving before. My shoulders felt literally weightless. My sternum felt like it was finally where it belonged after 20 years. And while this rest stretched across my torso, the world around me seemed to clarify. I heard the faint jets of a plane far overhead. I heard my therapist's dog breathing beside me. I heard the tires of vehicles slowly cruising through the quiet neighborhood, the bays wind running up and over the building. I relayed this somatic experience back to my therapist. And as I did so, I had a life-altering realization. Not only was I truly still, truly at peace physically, for the first time in my life, I was experiencing that stillness in the presence of another person. When for as long as I can remember, another person's presence, no matter our relationship, forced me to painfully and exhaustingly brace for disaster. Tears flowed from my eyes as this dam was broken. I couldn't believe it. I had the capacity. I had the capacity to be truly, truly present with another human being, without striving uphill or plummeting to the bottom. To be with another without the weight of fear hanging over me by a thread. My breath and body just quivered, and I continued to cry as I experienced such an immense moment that I not only never thought possible, but didn't even know I was missing. After a time of simply sitting with that emotion in silence, we did another eye movement. My imagination shifted again to myself on Sisyphus's hillside. This time I was taking a break from the journey. However, rather than this braced, desperate attempt to rest before continuing, I noticed something. I noticed that where I sat looked out over this tremendous view. I noticed the sky's expanse overhead and the rolling landscape below. The sun and the breeze worked in tandem to comfort me. Best of all, another person sat with me. I could rest and be with someone. Those two factors were no longer required to compete. Better yet, when I would eventually need to continue on, leaving that utopian stillness, since it is often what life requires, I would have a whole new view when I rested again. Hell, there'd be a view to enjoy along the way. And should gravity take hold and I fall, gaining wounds and bruises on the way down, I'd end up somewhere with another view. What I had once perceived as a lose-lose-lose situation had suddenly shifted to one far more dynamic and scattered with silver linings. On my more confident days, I might even say it's a win-win-win situation now. This story doesn't end with my stutter being cured. This video's been pretty fluent, but if I were telling it to you in person, there would be stutters and freezes and halts all through the thing. But that's okay, because the story ends with a reclaiming of what belongs to me. To me, what was robbed from me so long ago. My chance, mine, to be still and present with another. It ends with a life-changing discovery that fear and relationship can be unlinked.